an interesting point to me today that I didn't hear. And I think it's pretty cool if this is the way it goes.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the people what you told me earlier?
So the last WCW Nitro number 286 was broadcast on March 26, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a day that will live in infamy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, right?
Crazy.
Well, this Wednesday, as we're recording this, as you're listening to the podcast, is actually a Tuesday, but this Wednesday, AEW Dynamite airs episode number 286 on March 26th, 2025.
Wow.
What are the odds of that? Now, I'm going to just say there was one huge moment on the WCW program that I think, as we discussed, could be tied back to AEW because something never happened that we thought was going to happen.
Right.
So before we dive into that, can you believe there's been 286 episodes of AEW Dynamite?
I can.
Really?
Well, yeah, because at one point, didn't they have 3 or 4 shows? Excuse me, Stewie. Didn't they have like 3 or 4 shows per week at one point? They were just
well, that wasn't Dynamite. That was like Rampage, Collision.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
AEW, Saran Wrap. It was all these different things.
They've been around for years now, so it's not like they're the hot new fresh promotion. They're here to stay. They've been around for a very long time. And might I add, our last YouTube video and the last thing we posted was about Jon Moxley and that crazy spot with the spiked nails in the back. And Chad, I'm telling you, most of the public hates you.
Why? What did I say?
You're a hater.
What did I do?
Did they really rip me? I didn't.
Did they rip me? I didn't see anything.
Oh, yeah, they ripped you. See, because I'm so quick with the responses, you don't get to read them. You have to go to the video to read everything.
Yeah, I didn't see anything bad.
Oh, yeah.
I thought everybody loved me.
Chad's a hater. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Francine's the best.
Here's my violin. I sift through those comments. I see those comments all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I don't deny those either.
Yeah, neither do I. I appreciate them. But no, I can believe that they've been around for that long. I think what you said, and I'll let you say it because you brought this to my attention, but if this happened, the fangirl in me would go nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happened on that last WCW Nitro? This guy popped up, Shane O'Mac.
How handsome he looks with his turtleneck on. I love it.
Shane McMahon, the main, just shocker of Nitro was that Shane McMahon became the quote-unquote owner of WCW in storyline. But that's how we closed out the last Nitro. Well, we never saw Shane McMahon appear in AEW after all that time that we had heard the rumors that they were talking and they had meetings and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe now's the time. Wow. Maybe this is what they were waiting for the whole damn time. And if that was it, that would be amazing.
That would be one of the coolest things I think that could happen right now. I think I would lose my shit. I think the timing would be perfect. I wasn't with the numbers of the shows, that didn't click in my mind because I'm not a numbers girl when it comes. I don't care what episode it is. It's if it's good, it's good. If it sucks, it sucks. You know what I mean? But the way you just worded that would be so interesting. And did you read that somewhere? Or are people putting this out there?
I came across it tonight when we were doing show prep and getting stuff ready for the show. I was like, okay. I saw that today, as we're recording this, is the day that WWE announced that they purchased WCW. So that led me down my little rabbit hole of little research. And then, boom, saw that the AEW show Wednesday is the same number as the final WCW Nitro, which was on the same day.
That would be the coolest thing. If he shows up, I would love it. I'd mark out for that.
It'd be amazing. I mean, that would really be, I'd give them the tip of the old cap because that's where, back to when I did give them a lot of hate about that awful end to the match. The Moxley Cope match spots were nuts. The ending was weak as shit. That would really, to me, put all my words to bed, because that would be an amazing just coup, and that would be such a clever anniversary, and I think that would be very, very just well booked if they did it that way. If you were to vlog and you were to go to visit every theme park, would you bring this gentleman with you for a little added spice?
Look at that handsome man blowing smoke in my face. How dare you?
Hey, Daddy.
Look at you. You look wonderful. This is Fonzie, everyone. Bill Alfonso is here.
Hey, everybody. Yes. And thanks for having me on the broadcast, Franny.
You look fantastic.
I feel good. I feel good. I'm outside. I live in Tampa Bay. It's a little cool here. It's like 68 or something. Rainy.
Yeah. We were talking about that yesterday. I was telling Fonzie we're coming down soon. And he said, I hope not soon. It's raining. I'm like, oh no. But we're gonna be down there for a couple weeks. So I'm hoping the weather gets a little more friendly,
Yeah, it will. It will.
Okay. So what are you doing today? You're walking around your house, I see.
Yeah,
I'm going
to walk into my office and show you guys some stuff that
I got.
Look at that. There's all kinds of stuff that we can talk about.
Well, wait, go back. Start with that picture at the top. Is that you and yes, it is.
That's great.
Todd. You and Todd Gordon.
Yes.
Okay.
That's in Japan when we went. Did you go with us?
Yes, I did. Why? Maybe I took the picture.
Yes.
I was there. I'm there that trip.
Yes, absolutely you were.
Okay.
And I just got some stuff that we can talk about. Sabu, of course, and before that, I refereed for 25 years.
Right.
And let me show you one of my favorite pictures. I see every day.
God.
Very nice.
I don't
know. It popped up on my social media one day, and I made a copy of it and made it enlarged it and is hanging in my office.
Thank you so much. It's me and Fonzie on his wall. How cute is that?
I think it's somebody gimmicked the picture because you were standing. Maybe they put us. Do you remember doing any graffiti?
Yes, I do. It was for you weren't there, so of course they photoshopped you in. But that was for an ECW calendar that never got produced.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah, and that picture of me is everywhere. But I guarantee you Fonzie was not at that shoot that day. But
so you didn't spray paint Fonzie on the wall.
No, Fonzie's thing was not on the wall, but that's awesome that somebody did that.
I know that I love it. So, I like it so much I put it in my office.
Listen, Fonz, we're going to go backwards, but I want to just discuss something that recently happened with you. So GCW had a huge pay-per-view this past weekend at Hammerstein, and you and the lovely Sabu showed up. So can you tell us how that came about?
Yeah, I work for this company. I think last year I worked 40 weekends, which was cool. Indies, they call them indie shows and conventions and so on and appearances. So I got lucky. I did about 40 shows.
Wow.
At this company in Ohio, I managed a guy named Matthew Justice. He's badass. He's hardcore. And so I go up there once a month for the last couple of years and work with him. And he's been working with GCW. They said, hey, Fonzie, they brought up your name in GCW. So they wanted me to work a couple of shows for them, but I was already booked. So when they came up with Hammerstein, I said, damn, that'd be the perfect place because we ran there.
Yep.
So for me to make my debut in GCW, that couldn't have picked a better building and got a good reception. So they just called me and asked me to come in and Sabu and do the lights off, lights on. It worked out. And, it was really cool.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, when I popped huge because I have the pay-per-view, but I didn't watch it yet. And then I heard that you guys were on it. I was like, damn, that's awesome. I love that. So I'm going to check that out probably this weekend.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
on the plane if I need something to watch. So maybe I'll download it to my iPad and watch
Perfect.
it.
It was a good show. There's a lot of guys you won't know, and there's a few guys that you will know.
Right.
When I do these indie shows, I meet all kind of young new superstars, and they're all badass. But I don't know them, and they all know us. But
Yeah. Do you ever come across? We were talking about this before. Like sometimes Shane and I will walk into a room at a show, and like people will look up and then they'll look back down. They won't even say hello. Like, does that bother you? If that, like, does that ever happen to you? Because like we just brush it off as okay, they're young. Maybe they weren't into ECW. They don't know who we are. Like, I still walk around and shake people's hands because that was the way we were brought up. When I came up in the business, I was taught shake everybody's hand. And that's what I still do. And I introduce myself. And some of these kids don't even look at you. And it's like,
right.
oh.
Well, it happens to me once in a while when I do one of the bigger conventions and one of the bigger names is there. Like recently, we did a show at the ECW Arena convention with Feinstein. They had Van Damme, a bunch of people there.
Icons.
And I think they brought in Kane. And Kane had a fucking line to go to his booth. And it was all people who don't know us, but it didn't bother me. But I said, damn, I wish I was as, over as he was, but he had more TV time and all that.
I'm talking about the boys. I'm not talking about fans. Like when we walk into a locker room and it's it's an indie fed and we've never worked there before. Right. And Shane, Shane and I will walk into the room and the boys will be putting on their boots or, their trunks or whatever. And they'll look at us and some will run over and say hello. And others will just look and put their heads down, not even give us like the time of day. And I'm like, it's such a different, like the way they come up these days. I guess it's different than when I was younger because I was taught you need to go around and say hello to every single person. I don't think it's like that anymore though. Like, would you get offended? Because I kind of just brush it off like, oh, well.
Yeah, I brush it off because I don't work with these guys all the time. And some of them don't know us. And they're all young. All the guys on the card are from, 18 to 25 years old.
Yeah.
They weren't even born in the 90s. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Okay. So some old timers will get mad. And then others just are like, who cares?
Yeah, I don't get mad.
Me neither. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you got your foot in the door with them and hopefully they use you more.
I talked to, I guess he's the owner, Brett. He was pretty cool. And he says, Fonzie, when it's feasible, we'd love to bring you in. Of course, if we're in California and we're drawing 300 people, we can't fly in. But if we're doing big shows like we did at the Hammerstein, they almost had 3,000 people there.
Yeah.
And it was a pay-per-view, so it made sense. He said, anything bigger, we'd love to have you. We like what you did. Thank you so much. And
I love it.
Got a warm reception. So it was pretty good. So I think I will be getting some work with them eventually.
Right. Well, that's good. Well, so you said you had 40 dates last year during the pandemic.
Right. But
goodness gracious.
We were off at the first part of the pandemic. Everything was shut down, of course. And then it started lightening up a little bit and the shows started happening. So I wear a mask everywhere I go. I got both doses and I got my booster and all that. So I feel comfortable, but I still wear my mask in the dressing room and stuff and try to be vigilant, especially in New York City the other day.
Yeah. Right.
So, but there's shows running. So I did work a lot last year. Smaller companies. There's a company in Florida called CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling. Gangarel is one of the teachers at their facility, and I work with them a lot.
Okay.
Twice a month at least, and I work for that AIW John Thorne out of Cleveland once or twice a month too. So between that and some appearances here and there, like at a toy store, being Sabu or whatever. So I got lucky last year and kept pretty busy.
Yeah, that's a 40 is a lot. For the
I'd say at least 40 shows last year.
Wow. Well, that's awesome.
And podcasts too. And I've been doing when the pandemic hit, I went online and said, "Hey, I'm available for podcasts." since nobody's doing any shows, and I got like 70 responses, and I end up doing about 20 podcasts, and I charge them a small talent fee.
Sure.
You know, and they love it, and we tell stories, and so I did quite a few of those last year too, and got lucky. I mean, the year before, last year,
Right.
I did several. I do, once a month or something. I get lucky, somebody calls me, but
I always ask my friends who come on here, and it doesn't have to be ECW based. Funniest story that you have in the vault that you can share, because I know there's a lot of things that we can't talk about on the air.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about anything, but
there's some things that we wish.
Yeah, there's so many funny stories. It's hard to come up with one specific one.
Just pick one.
Well, there's stories. I don't know if they're funny stories, like me running over an alligator, putting it in the trunk, and I had Muda, Angelo Mosca, all people who've never seen alligators, Roddy Piper. They were amazed at the alligator. We thought he was dead, but I threw him in the trunk. The alligator was so big, and I rented a caddy because I had the guys with me. The alligator was so big, he wouldn't fit in the trunk. I had to fold him up like a donut to fit him in the trunk. But all I did was knock him out. When I ran over him with the car, ran over his head. So he was in a coma, selling in the trunk. So he came alive. We had still 2 hours to go home, and he started flipping around in the trunk, and they thought it was great. They thought he was going to come through the back seat and get the Canadian and Japanese kid. So stories like that,
He's so crazy.
As we go back to Cultaholic once again.
I love Cultaholic for some reason.
Cultaholic, I forget the other one. What culture?
Sportster.
That's the other one. All I know is they're all British. Yeah, the Sportster. They're all British, right? And they all like making these videos.
I love the Brits. I could listen to Brits talk all day.
This one is 18 minutes long.
It
is titled, What Happened to Every Wrestler from the Final ECW Pay-Per-View?
What the hell? How many what happens to the ECW roster do we need from these people? Didn't we just do one of these?
We did wrestlers who failed in WWE. We did greatest factions, I think, or people who should never have worked in ECW. They come up with all these different things. This is the last pay-per-view.
And you said on the thumbnail, what picture is it?
So the thumbnail, it's your WWE picture.
The red?
The thumbnail is, let me just look at it. It is you and a handful, 1, 2, 3, about 9 other people, but it's your WWE red picture is the thumbnail.
They love me. They love me using these thumbnails as clickbait. Am I even in the video?
You are. I did check. You are.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what they say.
Here we go.
That's the last time they talked, whoever it was talked about me, it was complimentary.
Yes, they were.
They didn't bury me. So we'll see if I get buried this time.
Please mention Eyes Up Here, Cultaholic. We're giving you enough.
I know,
promotion.
Right? Good Lord.
And that guy she works with, the Chadster. He's a great character. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Carl, why doesn't engine?
You gotta freaking hit YouTube Premium.
You think I'm silly?
It helps everybody.
No, wait, this is an ad too. I'm clicking 2, 1, click.
On January 7th, 2001, Extreme Championship Wrestling put on their last ever.
This guy's voice.
I love it.
Overall. Though nobody knew for sure at the time.
Overall. I love it.
The most revolutionary wrestling promotions of all time, many did strongly suspect it. For a few, guilty as charged would pretty much be the end of the wrestling road, while for others, it would not be so much of an ending as a new beginning. Mason Ryan, Stevie Ray, Earthquake, Alundra Blaze, Norman Smiley, Zach Gowen, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ahmed Johnson, Tory Wilson, Buff, Bagwell, Robert Gibson, Dave Taylor, Terry Taylor, and Godfather's Hoes.
What a nerd. Look at this dork.
Dwayne Gill, Adam Bomb, Michael Hayes, Corbon, S.A. Rios, Jim and I, the manager from Kai and Tai, Jim Powers, Francine, Jack Swagger, me,
Hey.
Juke the Dumpster, Oklahoma Manta. What happened to that wrestler? Some were main eventing, which leaves me lamenting.
What happened to that wrestler?
Some tips long forgotten, but their memories live on. Joey Stark.
What a nerd.
I love it.
An unlikely spell as
Look at Joel.
WWE in the mid-2000s.
Look at Tana's clean shaven
Behind
at the top.
roles and rising through the ranks to become vice president of digital media content and ad sales for WWE.com. That ended when he made some ill-advised comments, including one at the expense of Roman Reigns during an interview. He did some announcing for various indie
That's
promotions
not why.
a short time afterwards, but is no longer involved in the business. Styles now works for a
ridiculous.
pharmaceutical prescription pricing company called Capital RX as a business development manager. Joel Gertner, the quintessential stud muppet.
Joel Gertner.
What a transition. Here's Joey Styles with the mask on. Joel Gertner.
With a mask
Why'd they show that?
He also has his own podcast called The 69-Minute Eargasm. Very on brand. Christian York.
Oh, this is rapid fire.
Yeah, it is. There's too many to mention.
AKA Joey Mercury did, as he mainly did the indie thing and had a run in TNA.
Okay, Christian York lives about 20 minutes away from me. Can you get us together so we can
I love him.
have Christian York on the show?
I spoke to him not.
Joey Matthews.
What did that say? I didn't even see it.
I don't know, it's so quick, but he lives in the next town over from me.
Okay.
Championship-winning member of M&M. However, Mercury's personal issues led to his departure, though he did come back in the future as a member of the Straight Edge Society and then as one half of J&J Security. He's been a trainer and producer for both WWE and Ring of Honor too, but hasn't wrestled since 2018. Since leaving his Ring of Honor gig in acrimonious circumstances in 2019,
that was not good when he left.
He's been involved in the business, and if he does make headlines, it's usually for his often controversial social media activity. The Baldies. The
Baldies.
AKA Angel Medina and
They're still working.
Medina was active on the indie circuit until
Tony's still
2019,
working anyway.
and now appears on the Killing the Business podcast. He currently works at a Subaru dealership in Wichita, Kansas.
Wow, why don't we just give out his home phone number next?
After a long career in 1992 when he worked as a jobber for WWE. Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn was in the final run when ECW went under, though he quickly found employment in WWE.
But Jerry didn't work that show.
Jerry so didn't want to be at Guilty as Charged. He forgot his ring gear and had to borrow someone else's tights, which were too big and had to be held up with electrical tape. His WWE run may not have been all that, but the new effing show had a great second half of his career, wrestling for TNA, Ring of Honor, MLW, and elsewhere. Retiring in 2013, Lynn now works as a producer and coach for AEW. Cyrus. Flanking Jerry Lynn was dastardly network representative Cyrus, aka Don Callis. He left the business in 2004 and worked for the province of Manitoba between then and 2017 when he returned to wrestling as an announcer.
Why do we know that? Why do we have to know that?
Period. An EVP.
Because they're telling us where these people are.
His most notable on-screen contribution since coming back has been managing former AEW champion Kenny Omega.
Is he still managing him?
Like, he's way involved in managing him, I think.
Oh, good.
And wrestles a couple of matches per year as Danny Morrison. According to his social media profiles, he still lives in his native New Jersey and works for either Innertech,
Dave LaGreca,
or the Gym Spot Fitness Center.
Dave was like a manager for a little bit.
And I'm underestimating Danny Doring once again.
He's a little more active than he's given him credit for. Danny works pretty often.
Doring's partner Roadkill was in the WWE developmental system for a
couple
of
there.
years, but left wrestling following his 2008 release. He still occasionally appears at fan conventions and signings, but is otherwise no longer involved in the business. Julio De Niro. Julio De Niro enjoyed a post-ECW
Julio De Niro.
often tagging with CM Punk, but never quite made it to the next level and left the business in 2013.
James.
Back for one last match for Brian Mize's Creator Pro in 2019. He currently works in construction sales and lives in Long Island, New York with his wife, his former wrestling valet, Miss Michelle, and 3 kids. Easy Money. Easy Money wrestled for WCW after ECW closed before they closed as well. And
they closed the next month.
then TNA, Ring of Honor, and Japan before wrapping up his full-time career in 2003. He's wrestled the odd match since, but for the longest time, Easy Money was focusing his energy on his Easy Tights venture, which made wrestling ring gear like tights and kick pad covers.
Huh, I did not know that.
Real name Jason Broyles lives in Tennessee and has worked as a nightclub bartender and manager. Chris Hamrick. Chris Hamrick was a member of the hot commodities.
Chris is working for GCW.
Is he now?
Well, it might just be one match. Maybe it'll lead to more.
Indie scene and teaches seminars.
Hold on. What the freak?
Post ECW, Elektra performed for Early Day TNA and was also as one of the dancers at the Bada Bing. Since leaving wrestling, Elektra has worked as a booker for the Satin Dolls strip club in New Jersey. She was formerly married
Never
to
been there before.
Dudley. Nova later became better known as Simon Dean, the insufferable fitness trainer from hell during WWE's Ruthless Aggression era. After a couple of decent years as an on-screen character, Mike Bucci transitioned to working in the talent relations department for WWE's developmental program before leaving in 2007.
That's a great picture.
After that, he decided to quit the industry, and though he works the rare match once in a blue moon and will appear at conventions.
There's a great segment of him riding one of those scooters through a drive-through of like a McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
Bank in Louisville, Kentucky. Chris Chetty, a graduate of ECW.
This is giving too much personal info.
This is way personal.
Oh my God. If they show a picture of my front door, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Francine leaves her pumpkins out for a month after Halloween.
Her Christmas decorations have been up for 4 years. She hasn't taken her lights down.
Francine has never opened the door for the Jehovah Witness.
My sign says, "Get out of here."
Vegas events for a ticketing company called Logitech.
Jesus.
Mike Dudley.
What the hell?
Dudley also
I hate this channel.
He had a decent run in WWE, all things considered, and a notable run
Spike Dudley's Bank of America account number is 463912.
He currently works for Fidelity Investments.
Oh, look at the baby.
In Rhode Island.
That's sweet.
Tommy Dreamer. The innovator of violence has been flying the ECW flag in the years since the promotion.
Where are they now, Dreamer? I don't know. Check the next show.
The indie show. Every weekend.
He still wrestles on the indie scene and is involved with Impact in both an on-screen and backstage capacity, though it nearly all ended after Dreamer made some ill-advised comments about Ric Flair in the play.
That's right, remember that.
What a terrible picture.
Tommy is also a co-host of a busted open radio show.
Wow, they must not like him.
Ray Dudley. C.W.
Anderson.
C.W. Anderson was probably too much of a throwback to make.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Those are some of the worst pictures I've ever seen of Dreamer. Just letting you know.
The Enforcer is still going strong.
He looks great.
He's
See
in great
Rob
shape.
now.
51, and his girlfriend's only about 27.
Yeah, she's young.
Steve Carino.
Interesting story.
One of the genuine stars ECW managed to create in its
Oh my God.
years. Carino never signed with WWE.
We're getting ready.
Oh, have to. What am I, number one?
No. Stay tuned.
17 as a coach and producer. He came out of retirement to wrestle his son Colby in 2021. Francine,
Oh God.
the queen of extreme, had a cup of coffee in WWE when they revived these.
Why would you use that picture?
To semi-retirement. She married in 2008 and has 2 children. Francine has been a bit more of a regular presence in recent times, hosting a podcast called Eyes Up.
Yeah.
Appearing at conventions, signings, and so on. Just
The chat.
Very
nice.
No, you didn't get a plug. Hey, mine was very positive.
It was.
Well, wait a minute. If I'm still so present, why am I on this list?
Well, they're saying, where are you now? You're very active. Everybody else is like, this schmo is working in a factory somewhere. But Francine is active.
occasionally wrestles and is a regular podcast presence.
Oh.
Jack Victory. Territory journeyman Jack Victory got a late career
Jacko!
his run in ECW, where he was the best friend and backup of Steve Corino. In late 2021, Victory tagged with Corino's son Colby in one of his increasingly better independent outings. He still makes appearances at conventions and signings.
Does he?
Not that many.
Hyatt showed up for the last ever ECW pay-per-view as the
They're taking all this footage from that one segment.
That's when I was eating the sandwich, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
Wrestling still appears at signings and conventions, and judging by her Twitter posts, remains a massive fan of the business and watches pretty much everything. Yoshihiro Tajiri.
Yoshihiro Tajiri.
One of the true bright spots of the last couple of
He looks
years of
great.
ECW.
I just seen him.
Tajiri only flies Delta when he comes back from Japan to the United States. His seat number is 14C.
Buzzsaw currently works for All Japan while making the occasional appearance for other promotions, including MLW. Mikey Whipwreck. Mikey quit wrestling full-time when ECW ended, years of abuse having taken a huge toll on his body. He instead trained a bunch of the next generation of indie standouts, including the Amazing Red, while still wrestling the odd match. Unfortunately, that ended in 2021 when Whipwreck stopped public appearances, citing anxiety and a list of medical
I got an ad.
The sinister.
The Dragon Sevens one.
Oh, this friggin' thing.
The Sinister Minister.
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
The Minister. Father James Mitchell disappeared from the public eye for a while following his run in TNA, but thankfully returned in the late 2010s. These days, the Sinister Minister can be found working for NWA, where he manages the Miserably Faithful. He showed up on the 2021 Spring Break episode of AEW Dynamite to officiate the wedding between Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Outside of wrestling,
I didn't know that.
karaoke nights, Kid Cash.
He hosts karaoke nights outside of wrestling.
Since 2020, when he made a 2-match return to Impact Wrestling. After wrestling for
I
about
just saw
Dave.
Dave.
TNA, WWE,
I just did a signing with him.
In between, the high-flying Kid Rock
Captain's Corner, right?
for multiple surgeries in the near future. He currently works as a project superintendent for Path Construction.
Oh, very good. I'm going to call him tomorrow.
Super. He's crazy. He's super crazy, isn't he? Duh. The Extreme Luchador still wrestles in Mexico and Japan.
Oh, thank you.
One of Super Crazy's favorite opponents, Little Guido, had a decent post-ECW run in WWE.
I was just thinking about him 2 days ago because
He retired, but does put
guy
on
named Mike Masters passed away. That was a very good friend of his.
both MLW and Impact. Tony Mamaluke. Guido's tag partner, Tony Mamaluke, also got a WWE run as part of the ill-fated
Tony was so
2006
sweet.
revival, but hasn't wrestled too much since due to injuries. He last worked a match in 2018, though he did show up in 2022 to accompany Guido in his dispute with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers in Impact. While he didn't mention exactly what it was, in a 2021 interview, he did say that he was busy with his regular real-life job and that what he did was very rewarding. Lovely.
And they let him wear his
Next
ECW shirt in Impact.
A few performers who
Very good.
disappeared
Yeah.
when ECW did. He was asked to come back for the one-night stand shows, but couldn't due to suffering from spinal stenosis. Sal has kept a low profile since, but came back into the spotlight, sort of, with the Conspiracy Horseman podcast, which he did for a while with Stevie Richards. Simon Diamond. Pat Simon Diamond Kenny retired from wrestling in 2006, but has been involved in the business since, working as a road agent and producer for TNA/Impact, and more recently, the NWA, where he acts as the head of talent relations. He suffered what was described as a mild stroke in March of 2022, but was back to work a few months later.
Oh,
Johnny
good for him.
Swinger. Diamond's partner, Johnny Swinger, never quite got the big break he probably felt that he deserved.
Yeah, what happened to this,
and WWE in the mid-2000s.
the gimmick, the swinger?
I don't know. I think they died it out a little bit.
Oh my God, it was the best thing they had. Dumb.
Dawn Marie. Accompanying Diamond and Swinger was Dawn Marie, who for a while was engaged to be married to Pat Kenny. They didn't end up tying the knot, but Dawn did marry a man named Matthew DeMatter in 2005, the same year she got pregnant.
That's
with
not
her
even
first
him. That's her
child.
second husband.
Marie was
This guy.
She married Al Wilson.
retirement and left the business not too long after, suing WWE and settling out of court in 2007. She currently works as a nurse and is very into the supposed healing powers of crystals. The Blue Boy. Also in Simon and Swinger's entourage was the Blue Boy, aka the Big Meanie. He still wrestles, does the convention and signing thing, and hosts the Mind of the Meanie podcast. Jasmine,
So far, ECW leads the league in podcasts post ECW.
If you don't know who Jasmine is, she was famous for once allegedly taking on 300 guys in a 24-hour period.
Good Lord.
Trust me,
I heard she did it twice.
Not that I'd know. Nowadays, Jasmine acts, models, attends fan conventions, and hosts a podcast called Crazy Train. The former 3PW co-owner made a rare wrestling appearance at an XPW revival show in 2022.
That did not last.
Considering that this is an ECW,
It's still they're still working.
Oh, they are still doing it? Oh, I haven't heard a jack shot.
Yeah, they're still working.
Poor balls.
Was a character.
Yeah.
Sadly passed away from a heart attack in 2016. He was 44 years old.
Jesus.
Chili Willy.
Here we go. They love talking about his dick.
We want Chili Willy. We want Chili Willy. Well, I do anyway. William Jones turned down the chance to wrestle for WWE in 2001, instead opting to enlist in the United States Armed Forces following 9/11. He served in Iraq, where he was wounded while on a mission. Jones subsequently received a Purple Heart and Bronze Star for his bravery.
He's a hero.
He did have a brief stint in WWE developmental in the mid-2000s, but hasn't wrestled much since, his last match coming in 2019. He currently lives in the Philippines and was, for a time at least, involved in training aspiring wrestlers in the country. Rhino. The Man-Beast was the last world champion of the original ECW, and while he never got pushed to the top in WWE, has enjoyed a busy and successful career in the 20-odd years since the Extreme ship sank. He still wrestles for Impact and on the Indies. The Sandman.
How could you forget?
ECW's lovable, stick-swinging, beer-guzzling, chain-smoking mascot won his first ECW world title since 1996 on the company's last pay-per-view. Then dropped it to Rhino 5 minutes later. For a six-pack and a packet of tabs later, he wouldn't have been too bothered. Sandman still makes the occasional wrestling-related appearance, and according to Brian Myers...
Hey, Square Circle Collectibles!
Now clean. Rob
Oh my gosh.
The last bastion of hope for ECW as the promotion was circling the drain, Rob Van Dam answered Rhino's open challenge, but was instead attacked by famed adversary Jerry Lynn. RVD actually walked away from the promotion several months earlier, having not been paid substantial sums of money, and only returned here as a one-off favor.
Join the club, would you?
Come
on now.
In the 2+ decades since ECW, though he continues to maintain that the best time of his career was working for Paul Heyman's outfit. He finally became ECW champion in 2006 after beating John Cena at the second one-night stand.
Why don't they show another picture of him holding his hand up for the
Makes
chair?
plenty of appearances at conventions,
Right.
signings, and has its own range of CBD products.
I'm gonna say that was okay. That was informative. A little too much personal info.
Yeah.
I would say out of all those guys, I think Rhino has had the most consecutive television time of anybody on that list since 2001. And it includes RVD and Dreamer and everybody else.
Yeah, because he's been consecutively working every year.
Yeah.
I remember when I had my show, we did this was in 2009. We did a thing beforehand, a Q&A, and I'm looking around and I said, the only person in this ring that has a job is Rhino. He was the only one under contract at my show that I can remember off the top of my head.
That's crazy.
So he's been busy. He's been, working, and good for him. He can still go.
Yeah. No, he never. I mean, it went, Impact, WWF, WWE. I think he might have even been in Ring of Honor at one point. He's always been on the move.
He's still working.
Yep, back in Impact now. Yeah, very.
And he runs his own promotion.
And he runs his own promotion and was running for public office at one point.
Yeah.
Very
Unfortunately, he lost, but I would have voted for Terry if I was living in his area.
That's very nice of you to do that.
But yeah, informative, yes. But there were some fun facts that I feel should have been left out. All right, so take us through it. So we start.
So you're saying we start with The Rock. The Rock is back.
Rock comes back now. I'm kind of torn with The Rock coming back. Okay, now I know it's more than an on-air role because now he is one of the bosses behind the scenes, right? He joins. What is his role with the?
He's on the board of directors.
Board of directors. Okay, so he has a lot of pull now, with creative and with the show and with his character and all this stuff. I get it. Does he? Because of all his accolades now, he's one of the world's biggest movie stars. He's a household name. Everyone knows who The Rock is. Does he need to come back as an on-air role on television? We've said this before. Is he taking away a spot from somebody else? He just created his own spot. Now, look, it's good for TV. People went nuts when he came out on that first episode when, the big return and stuff. I get it. People love The Rock. But is it necessary to be an on-air role?
Well, so when he was first coming back, he was just coming back as the cameo. And he was coming back and he would beat up a random heel and get the pop, and that's it.
Once you get that taste, it's like, I can do more.
That's it.
I can still go.
That's it.
I'm young enough. I got one more run in me. You know what I mean? But does he need it? He's the friggin' Rock. Does he really need it? And do you feel like, and we said this before, I think it was with Trish Stratus coming back. Do you think he's taking a spot from someone else? Because in this doc, he almost did take somebody's spot.
Yeah.
Almost is the key factor.
Well, he got the taste for sure. But here's what everybody forgets. He came back during the Writers Guild strike. Okay.
Because they couldn't get work.
Right. So that's why The Rock was around. So the TKO purchase of WWE, the board of directors, all that stuff was just around the time the Writers Guild strike was ending. So he's going to start going back to work, but he's got some time. So that's why The Rock was around more. And whatever project he's working on now that took him away, that's going to end and he'll be back. But he was around because of the Writers Guild strike.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people forget that.
Well, even still, he's on the board. So isn't that enough? Like, is it? Okay, he doesn't need the money. We know that. We know he doesn't need the money, number one. He doesn't need the extra paycheck from being an on-air personality. Agreed? Because
he does not, no.
He does not. Okay. So is it because he feels like it's good overall for the company to show his face and give it that extra push that they need? Or is it like an ego thing?
Well, a lot of people feel it's the ego thing because now his family is prominently displayed in the annals of WWE history. His daughter has a big spot on NXT television.
Does.
His grandmother is now a WWE Hall of Famer when she had nothing to do with WWE. And that promotion that even got mentioned in this documentary, the Hawaii promotion, was notoriously not a great promotion for the boys to go to. It was a horrible paid promotion. The houses would be good every so often for the big shows when the big stars would come in, but not a great territory. And now the Anoa'i Johnson family side of his family, they're looked upon as luminaries because of him. So I don't know. I think an ego boost, but I do love him. So I have to give him credit for pushing all that to the forefront as part of his deal.
Yeah. And like I said, his return drew numbers. It wasn't like, it fell flat or anything. So it was profitable and the people loved it. But you just got to ask yourself, what is the reason for him coming back on TV? Because you could totally be behind the scenes and be happy and be working. So I don't know. It was just a question that I thought of. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of an ego thing, but also it was really good for business as well. So
Right. And what I did love, though, is as they were building up The Rock's return, they did tell you the story of how the Rock Roman story had been built up for years. And I don't think a lot of people realize, because after a while, not a lot of people watched Young Rock. It had good ratings for a while, but then really dipped. But they started building the Rock and Roman storyline even on Young Rock, where they had a young Roman Reigns on the TV show Young Rock yell and acknowledge me over to somebody in the room and have the Dwayne Johnson actor in a headlock and say, no, we're not going to fight. One day we will, though. And they were even teasing it then, and purposely teasing it then, because this is how they felt this would be a money match at some point down the line. So Rock has had his eyes on this forever, because at some point he wants to put his cousin over and make him the ultimate star, I believe.
So you're hitting the nail on the head. You said at some point. Did that point have to be now at WrestleMania 40?
I think Rock saw the big 4-0 and saw that number and said, okay, I've been a WWE legend. I've been at X number of WrestleManias. I'm going to make my comeback at 40. That's going to be where I put Roman Reigns on another level. The whole thing with Roman Reigns was that he was going to surpass the Hulk Hogan milestone of days as champion, right? That was that whole thing. So he beats Rock, and then he surpasses the Hogan number of days. The Cody thing just got in the way. So Rock's plan was Rock's plan, and the Cody thing just got in the way. Again, as a guy that, as a fan, I would not have been a Cody fan as a kid. He just comes off as a disingenuous babyface to me. But Rock, as a guy on the outside, as a power pulling legend, he just goes, I see the number 40. I see the marquee match in my head. That's what I want. I'm just coming in, do what I want.
So this whole buildup, right? They're saying that from 3 years prior or whatever. And the Rock says to himself, okay, this is the time I want to do it. Do we know if the office had any inkling of his thoughts about this? Because why are you going to build Cody up and get him to this level and then have it taken away from him if they knew that The Rock was going to come in and try to pull this off for this WrestleMania? It's like, couldn't he have waited?
Yeah.
Couldn't you wait till next year? Cody wins, blah, blah, blah. And then you come out and then you start this great angle that you can carry over for a year until WrestleMania 41.
Right. And
why not? Why not do that?
Right. And so was this at some point figured out and they just carried it into the story we got? Or was this old school politics rearing its ugly head? Mm-hmm. And we got a guy who came up in the round guys from the 70s and 80s, and a guy who came up in the 90s and saw the politics and how they played and pulled the political card backstage and said, I'm getting the main event at WrestleMania 40.
Yeah, that's what I don't like about this whole scenario, because I'm telling you, things could change in the blink of an eye. We all know this by now. Like, my name would be on the wall, and 5 minutes later, I'd look and it'd be crossed out, and then I'd come back and it'd be back on the wall when I worked for WWE, right? Things can change the night of, but this is WrestleMania. This is something that everybody builds up to and everybody wants to be a part of. And reverse the roles. Like, if it was The Rock and somebody came in and tried to do that to him, would he like it? You know what I mean? Like, I just, as a human being, like, just think about it. And I know that a lot of people don't put that into consideration because everybody wants to get themselves over. But in watching this documentary, I was just like, they could have just, made him come out at the Raw after WrestleMania and then start a year-long feud between him and Cody and put Roman Reigns when he comes back, put him in the scenario and just build it up. And I don't know, like, for me, I just wish it didn't have to go to this extreme.
In my head, if you want somewhat WWE history, I go back to 2002 when they brought in Hogan, Hall, and Nash. and Austin and The Rock were the two biggest guys. And literally it drove Steve Austin eventually out of the company because Steve Austin was on the brink of his, breakdown, essentially, where he walked out, where the creative was so bad because they had so many egos of what direction do you go in that they ended up having to book themselves into a corner and book Hogan versus The Rock. So they ended up booking a dream match because they had no place to go because so many guys and so many hands and so many pots that they wanted to go in one direction and they had to go in this direction and this direction because so many people would say yes and then no and then we can't do this and we can't do this. So that's the only thing I could point to where Rock would have seen where we were supposed to go this way, but then because of this other thing coming in, we had to pivot. So he was just like, yeah, political card. Yep. Yeah, I'm here. It's The Rock. Well, smell what I'm cooking. I'm here.
We smell it and it smells like polished sheep.
But now, so then like you said about Cody, right?
Yeah. So
like you said, just all around professional, the guy exudes the essential baby face of 2024. This is the guy that kids love. He said he's the quote he had was essentially, or I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact one, but he's been the champion without the belt on the road.
Okay.
I think that's pretty accurate.
I from what I've seen of Cody, he's great with fans. He's a company man. He's a team player. He took this on the chin. He really did. And he just went with it. And like I said, kudos to him. I don't know how much was acting. Inside, it's got to be eating you up. It had to be because they put all their faith in one guy who was Cody Rhodes. And then it's like, no, buddy, you're not going to get it this time. So it's kind of a slap in the face. You work really, really hard for something and then you don't get it. And to me, that's just a shitty move, So then we want Cody trending and it starts trending for 72 hours straight. Anytime you went on your socials, all I saw was hashtag we want Cody.
Yeah.
Everywhere. So now when it was announced, they showed reactions, and this was pretty cool. They showed reactions of Twitch streamers and YouTubers and gave them credit underneath for their channels and all this stuff.
Yes, which I had a gripe with WWE. Okay. Where were we? We reacted to all that. Where were we? Busted Open got credit.
Yes.
Twitch streamers got random Twitch people got credit. What the heck? WWE. You got two alums right here.
It's okay. It's fine. But they showed the reactions. We're finally getting The Rock and Roman. And everybody at first was like, yes, this is so great.
Yeah.
But then it kind of sunk in and it was like, wait a minute. Cody doesn't get to finish his story. So then it kind of turned and most people were pissed off and they started tweeting and writing about it and reacting to it. And people were legit hot. Legit hot. Like, I mean, people were like almost rioting. They were so mad. I remember somebody told me after one of the shows, a live event, they went out and they started flipping trash cans because they were so in the parking lot. They were so pissed off. They started flipping the trash cans. So mad. Wrestling fans are very passionate. If you didn't know,
Cody crybabies, if you ask me.
Crybaby Cody, yeah, or the Cody crybabies, well, whatever you want to call it. The Rock now, and this is the memes have been going nuts. There he is. And he feels the pain of the fans and he knows what they want and they want Cody. So he says, we need to pivot and we need to think of something that's going to make everybody happy. So initially he is taking credit for the call of putting Cody back into the title scene. What do you think about that?
Smart guy, smartest man in the room.
You think that it was his idea?
He called Nick Khan. He called Ari Emanuel. Ari Emanuel sat there for a second and then said, fuck yeah, let's do it.
wait a minute. You don't think this had anything to do with Triple H or creative saying, ugh, WWE Universe is really pissed off. Like, we have to think of something. You think this was all The Rock?
Triple H said, Rock, you got to step aside.
Oh, dear God.
Rock, get the hell out of the picture, buddy. Get the memo.
Well, let me tell you, the memes were going crazy, and they're creating them all over the place. So one said, I said to Vince, let's call it WrestleMania, was one of the memes. So he created WrestleMania. Another guy said to Steve Austin, I said, Steve, just call it the Stone Cold Stunner. And he created the Stone Cold Stunner. Another one said, I was a kid just shaking my hips. And then Mr. Presley nodded his head in approval. So he taught Elvis Presley how to dance. I mean, they're comparing him.
Believe it.
Oh, shit. They're comparing him to the Hulk Hogan lies that we talked about. Hulk Hogan was creating all these situations that put himself over, and people wanted him in Metallica. People, crazy stuff. And these are the memes that are going around, and they're pretty funny. They're pretty funny. And I don't know if The Rock is laughing or if he's legit pissed at these, but there's a lot of them out there.
You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember when the Michael Jordan documentary was out, or the Chicago Bulls documentary was out like 2 years ago? And they started sharing the Michael Jordan meme where he was like, and I took that shit personally. That's what this is now.
There you go.
That's this one. But I think a lot of people look at The Rock in this, in this current state with the glasses and the shirt, the way he looks. And like, this is Dwayne Johnson, folks. This is not, $500 shirt, The Rock. This is the guy.
That's a silk shirt, by the way. That's a very nice shirt he's wearing.
Nice shirt. This is the guy who he is now. Okay. You got to keep that in mind. He's been Hollywoodized. Okay. So what do you think Hollywood people are? Okay, they take credit for everything. They think that they're in this dream world that they are, where they're the center of attention and everything that happens is revolving around them. So of course he's going to say that he came up with the idea, because in his world everybody kowtows to him. So he thought of it. Somebody look at what he said. Brian Gewirtz is his right-hand man, right? Brian Gewirtz probably said something relating to Cody Rhodes, and he probably said it, and he went, I thought of it. Just like that. So in his world, maybe he did think of it.
I wish Hunter, they would have showed Hunter, and Triple H goes, yeah, that was kind of my idea. I wish it would have been something like
Rock,
dueling.
Rock, you're crazy, Rock.
Dueling ideas. Nonetheless, I feel like they do the right thing and they change the booking, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, depending on...
you would have rather seen The Rock and Roman Reigns for this one?
Yes, I would have.
Okay, so what would we have gotten night one? If they kept it the way it was, what would we have gotten night one?
You could have put Cody in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. He would have done well winning that.
That's so... You're not a Cody fan. I get it. I get it.
You get Cody and Seth Rollins.
No, I'm saying with The Rock and Roman, like, what would we have gotten for night one, do you think? Because that's a night
Roman,
two match.
Superman punch, 1, 2, 3, passes the torch. That's it.
There's 2 nights to WrestleMania. The main event would have been on night 2. What would we have got?
Cody, whatever Cody thing is, to
Cody
Seth
and
Rollins.
Roman?
No, night 2, then Cody and Seth.
What
1, 2,
would
3,
we
Cody
have
wins.
gotten on night 1 is my question to you.
Then your main event of night 1 is Rock and Roman.
You can't have Rock and Roman 2 nights in a row.
No, if you want a main event of night 1, it's Rock and Roman. You want a main event of night 2, it's Seth and Cody. Or vice versa. Flip them.
I don't.
If you got 2 championships in 2 nights, you got to put 1 championship on each night.
You don't think that The Rock wants to incorporate himself in both shows like he did? With the tag match, they put the tag match on night 1 and the main event on night 2 with all the run-ins.
That's why I think that this was the plan all along.
So you're telling me that Creative knew he was coming back and fed Cody lies this whole time? That's your conspiracy
I think
theory.
they were all in on it.
Well, that's terrible if that's the truth. That's terrible.
They were all in on it.
That's terrible.
WrestleMania 1's first main event was a tag match. So WrestleMania 40, it makes sense. Have a big tag match. Makes perfect sense to me.
If you were the talent, if you were in Cody's shoes, wouldn't you feel slighted? If this was the plan all along and they're lying to you, do you want to work for a company like this?
Hey, he came back for the money. So, I mean, I guess.
Man.
But, like I said, the only thing that doesn't make sense to me is the coming out on Raw or whatever show it was, and he gives the match to The Rock and says, I talked to my counsel and here's The Rock, right? And then 3 days later is like, it's not your choice. It's my choice to decide who I face at WrestleMania. But that whole segment didn't happen. Like because
they changed that's when the We Want Cody thing started. And that's when The Rock had the epiphany. Oh my God, the light bulb goes off. We have to appease to the WWE universe. I have to change this. According to the documentary.
Brian Gewirtz is the one that gave him the idea then for the tag match, because Brian Gewirtz is the guru.
He's not crediting Brian for any of this. He's crediting himself. I don't know where you're getting your information.
No, Brian Gewirtz he gave for the idea of the tag match.
I don't know where you got that information.
He said that. He said it on the thing. He said Brian Gewirtz gave him the idea of the tag match.
He said it. He said that 100%.
Yeah, they showed a little picture of little Brian Gewirtz.
I saw a little Brian. Saw a picture of him on there. I thought The Rock was taking credit for that as well, that creative booking.
Well, he did take credit for it. He said Brian Gewirtz gave him like the template of the idea.
And he created
passed it to him. Right. He said, hey, Rock, here's this idea for you on a silver platter.
All I'm saying is that if this was the plan from day one, shitty. Just shame on them. Shame on them to build up somebody that much and just pull it from them. And if the fans didn't react like they did, I don't think it would have changed. Right? It would have been the same exact thing.
Right.
So
and the X factors too. CM Punk got injured. Right. Triple H brings it up. He says this wasn't happening if CM Punk didn't get injured. Yeah, that we would have had Rollins and Punk.
Right. And then what happens? Even so, then what happens then? Yeah. If Punk was still in the equation, it would have been worse.
Yeah, Cody's definitely he's out.
It would have been worse, man.
There would be no Roman Cody because Cody, Andre the Giant Battle Royal, great spot for you. Great spot. I think it was on SmackDown.
Well, you could thank the WWE universe because I truly believe that if they weren't adamant about this We Want Cody thing, it might have just been the same. We might have got a different result. And then Cody would have been on the back burner. Please join me in welcoming the Blue Meanie, making his Eyes Up Here debut today. How are you, my friend?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
I've been trying to get you now for like 72 years, but the Blue Guy's very busy.
He's a bucket list guest for the show. We definitely had him at the top of that list.
I am checking off my bucket list. First thing I want to say, happy belated. I reached out on your birthday, but
yes, you did.
He had a birthday a couple days ago. And
yes.
Yes, and we're not going to disclose our age unless you would like to.
No.
No, see, I tell everybody I'm 50, and I love it, and I kick, and I shimmy, and I shake. But
well, there's a great saying: you're young once, but you can be immature forever. So I've taken that route.
Yeah. And I know that because I've traveled with you.
Oh my God!
Up and down the road. Before we get into, backstories and whatnot. We were together this past weekend. We're starting the show hot with you. We do like recaps and we talk a little bit, but we didn't get to today because we started right at noon. Meanie and I were working for Captain's Corner, our good friend Nick, And Dave Cash was with us, Kid Cash, and
Yes.
it was a little mini reunion. And we had such a good time, don't you think?
Hey, it's always great when we can get together and reminisce, so to speak. It's just like the cool thing about our crew. It's no matter how far apart how long it's been since we've seen each other last time, we just pick up right where we left off.
It's true, because now I had not seen you. I don't know.
I can't even remember.
It might have been the time you and Tracy came to our house for dinner.
That might have been it.
And that was years ago.
Yeah. But
that was a while ago. But he talks to my husband more than he talks to me. I'm not offended. They have this little man group. That they, I'm privy to it because I get shown some of the conversations once in a while. If they're funny, he pops me with them, and But
we're kids of the '80s, and a lot of our '80s humor, '80s knowledge, and stuff like that. And we have another mutual friend within there. I'll protect him so he's innocent, but
okay.
He's married and has a family now. So
I know who you're talking about, but I don't say anything either. But
he's another guy that was part of that. He wasn't a wrestler, but like a lot of the boys in ECW considered him one of the boys. So it's just me and him have this saying, man, if this was 1996, and I'll just leave it at that. But we've just it's crazy how I talk to your better half more than you
know. I'm like, really? Hello. But it's okay because we've kept in touch. It's not like we don't speak, but it's just the boys club is running rampant, and it's fine because, like I said, some of these memes and jokes I am privy to, and I shake my head, but I pop at the same time. So I get it. It's all good. So what should we talk about today? I feel like everybody, how'd you get into the business? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, how many things have you done? How many interviews have you done?
It's always how'd you break in? And
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about.
You go on autopilot and tell that story.
I'll just tap out now if that's what's going to happen.
No, I don't.
I'm
well,
waiting for the good stuff.
Listen, I don't want to talk about that, but I know you're sick of talking about this one, but a lot of my listeners might not know about it. So I'm going to have to bring it up, and please don't be mad at me.
Your family, so you can talk about anything.
Well, isn't that great? We're going to have to discuss JBL. And we talked about this over the weekend, and it's like, oh, not again. But a lot of people don't know how that came about. People still ask me, and I'm just like, I was there that night, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I really don't. I was there. I watched it from the back because I was part of that show too. In a nutshell, you don't have to go into logistics and details, but what brought that on that evening? Because so backstory, I'm talking about the 2005 ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view. Okay. I traveled with you. We all went to New Jersey. We all got in a van that looked like it could transport illegal aliens over the border and all this shadiness. And there was like 10 of us in this van. We're going to the pay-per-view. I was a surprise. So Joey Styles literally put a jacket over my head and drug me into the building without anybody seeing me. But Meanie accompanied me. We were all there. Tell us what happened that night. When you went into the building, was there a confrontation beforehand? Was there heat? Did anybody stooge anything off to you? Did you know anything? What happened?
Well, it goes back to my first run in WWE. I went into WWE in '98, November '98, and for whatever reason, And again, it's hard to nail down to one specific incident, but for whatever reason, JBL, in full disclosure now, me and John are cool. So, and people like to use that, JBL beat up. It's like, yeah, we're friends. We made up over this. So, for whatever reason, there's always some kind of remark or, when we're working in the ring, I felt he was taking liberties in the ring. And once I left WWE and I was fired. I was like, I had a great time, but I said in an interview with Mike Johnson or Chris Woodward, Buck Woodward. I said I had a great time in WWE, but JBL was a bully, and that's basically all I said at that. And then it kept coming up. I was like, yeah, he bullied me. He's a bully. And
you're not the first to say this about him. There have been several stories out there.
I might have been the first at that time to publicly.
Okay.
But this was in 2000 when I said it. When they released me. So I think it's a case of, how the telephone game works?
Yeah.
Where I say this, and by the time it gets to John, people have embellished and, oh man, wait till Meanie, you hear what Meanie said about you, and, I had seen him over the years. Like I had stopped by a WWE show. Everything was cool. And then that day at One Night Stand, everything was fine. Hey, John, how you doing? Hey, Meanie, how you doing? And then the skirmish at the end, we rehearsed that. We did a whole rehearsal, everything. And, we're all squaring off. And, hey, you, I'm going to beat you up. And, whatever you say, right?
Whatever you say.
Yeah. And I had made a plan. One of the Basham brothers on the other side, and I was like, "Hey, let's just square off." Who knows if we're ever going to see? I'm buddies with him. I was like, "Who knows if we're going to see each other again? Let's just square off and do whatever.
Have a good time, right?"
Yeah. So the skirmish breaks out, and we're going back and forth. And all of a sudden, 2 nights before at the Forever Hardcore or Hardcore Homecoming
show. Yep.
Yeah. Sandman busted me open with a ladder or a chair, and I had staples in the back of my head. And flash forward to One Night Stand. I'm brawling with one of the Basham. I think Danny Basham. And then all of a sudden, there's a punch right in the back of my head on top of the staples.
Okay.
So if you watch the footage, you see me grab my hand and go, "Son of a bitch!" Yeah, I turn around, and it's John. And we just, he does the hockey. We start having a hockey fight. He just pulls my shirt over my face, and I start swinging back.
And you can't see at this point because your face is covered. But when we all went over our stuff because they make you walk through everything over there. Ridiculous. So when you went over this, did he say, "I'm going to come from behind" at any point and try to square off with nothing? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, I think there's one point where I think I said something about his cowboy hat, and he just looked at me. I was like, shit.
I should have said that.
I probably shouldn't say anything about his cowboy hat or so. I don't know.
And you're in the ring.
Huh?
You were in the ring when it wasn't like it was a shoot, like, oh, your hat.
It's like we're working,
Right.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Right.
I'm not gonna kick your ass, but it's work. So he hits me in the back of the head, and we're fighting, and I powder off, and I grab somebody, and boom, 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 and then like guys are coming up to me. Tracy Smothers walks up to me because I'm bleeding. So Benoit walks up to me, looks at me. Everybody's looking at me like they thought I got color. I was like, no, he shot on me, and Tracy Smothers went over, and if you watch, Sandman puts his cane around him, and Tracy Smothers has little.
Now this is still in the ring.
Yeah, while it's still going on, and you see Bubba pull him out and whisper something and tells him to skedaddle.
Okay.
And we get to the back, and we're doing there's still like a couple minutes where they have Bischoff in there with Stone Cold, and they're beating up Bischoff. And you see, they bring in beers for Steve. Also, I grab a beer and put it right on my face like a steak.
Oh,
I'm just like,
God.
I got one. I'm double fisted. I got one on my face when I'm drinking one.
Yeah.
There's a photo that's floating around the internet. I'm all gimmicked up, and I got the beer in my hand, and so we get to the back, and Johnny Ace is like, "Who told you can gig? Who told you to bleed?" It's like,
are you even watching what's going on?
I was like, no, he shot on me. And went, what? And I was like, yeah, I gave him the cliff notes, like right there. I was like, well, for whatever reason, he doesn't like me. This goes back to it's inexcusable, blah, blah, blah. So we we go further down the hallway to where Gorilla was, where Vince was. And there's John, and you said stuff about me on the internet. And I was like, dude, all I could do is throw my hands and go, dude, whatever, So they take me downstairs, and I get stitched up, and they have Hebner find me, and he doubles my pay for the night. And
well, that was good.
Yeah, he's like, oh, here.
Okay.
Kills me off a couple. And then on the ride home, I later found out, because we're all riding home together, Malino and Finnegan said they were going to take me straight to the hospital.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
They were. And if you remember, we stopped off at like a, I don't know if it was a Roy Rogers or was it Wendy's? Yeah.
There's just like this little truck stop.
Yeah, it was a little thing. And I remember holding ice on your face. Yeah. We're like, can we have bags of ice, please? Because you were so swollen. Yeah. Your face, you looked like you had gotten bit by like 42 bees. That's what it reminded me of. You honestly, your eyes were swollen, your face was swollen. My heart was broken. And I just remember sitting next to you, and I was holding the ice on your face. Right. And you just had your head down the whole time. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, this is beyond a shoot. Like, I've never seen anybody, like, I don't mean to keep emphasizing it, but no. I have never seen anybody shoot on somebody like that. And you took it and you didn't even cause a stink about it. Yeah. You just took it like a man and just was like, well, whatever. And I mean, I don't consider it stooging what you did, because they asked you what happened. You were telling the truth.
Yeah.
So I don't think you stooged.
I was like, no, I'm a better gigger than that.
But you were he was a mess, guys.
I remember watching it live. I remember you see, because you're watching it and you're like, wait, what's going on over there? Because you see JBL's wild arm just like kind of fly out of nowhere. I remember watching it live being like, holy shit, that's crazy.
He's doing this and I'm throwing my rights, and if you watch the SmackDown, because they did a SmackDown like in the next day or two, he's got like makeup under, he had a little mouse bruise under his eye.
Little mouse bruise. Meanwhile, Meanie's walking dead over here.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
I look like a garbage pail kid.
You did. You did no fish bones around your trash cans, but you were in really, really bad shape. I felt so bad for you that night, and all I can do, I kept saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I remember just holding ice on your face in the van.
Yeah, I don't remember much of that ride home.
Yeah, you were very somber. Yeah. I will tell you, you had your head down. And we were just like, do you want to go anywhere? Do you need anything? But I just remember I told the lady at Wendy's, I need a big bag of ice. And they gave us ice, because he's a mess. And I have never seen anything like that in my life in this sport.
The funny thing is, we were walking back to the van from the Manhattan Center, and I see Paul, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Oh, and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you took his best shot and he couldn't knock you out. So what are you apologizing for?
There you go.
I was like, sorry, I ruined your Black Panther party. Just I felt like Forrest Gump, like apologizing for something that wasn't my fault.
You didn't have to apologize, but that's your nature. Yeah. That's the way you are. You're
Catholic guilt. I have Catholic.
I know. I do it too. I do it too. And I remember apologizing to Vince, and he goes, "Stop saying sorry." And I go, "Okay, sir, sorry." And he's like, "I still gotta stop saying sorry."
I was like you said, somber. And I got home. I went to bed. I woke up and I didn't really get fired up until the next day. And I walked downstairs, and my mom saw my face, and the way she reacted, my mom reacted, set me to fuck off.
Sure.
I don't know. Can we swear?
Yeah. You can swear.
So, and that's when I just started writing blogs about it. And I posted the photo. I sent the photo to, I posted the photo on my bluemeanie.com when I owned that back in the day. And everybody picked up on it. And then I started writing blogs about it and how I was angry about it. And
yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah. And then a couple months later, Dreamer. Well, in the meantime, like when we had gone to One Night Stand that day, Nova had said he was pitching like a mini BWO reunion in WWE because Stevie was going from Velocity to SmackDown. SmackDown's blue and white colors. BWO's the blue and white colors.
Yeah.
So a couple months after maybe a month or two after One Night Stand, Tommy Dreamer calls and goes, Meanie, we want to bring you out to Sacramento. This has nothing to do with JBL. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thinking that it's Nova doing the BWO thing. I get there, get to the building, and Johnny Ace goes, yeah, you're working JBL tonight. I went, great. You lied to me.
First of all, anybody who ever comes on this show and has a Dreamer story always does this voice. Inevitable. Yeah, but why would Tommy, why did Tommy do that? Did you call him on it?
Well, no. I just figured they told him to tell me something, and then they, plans. He's like, yeah, you're working JBL. You're hitting the moonsault, winning 1, 2, 3. I was like, does John know this?
Is he privy to this information?
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, he loves it. It's great. Blah blah blah. And I'm standing there, and I'm just like, this feels like a setup. I'm just standing there like. And to his credit, Triple H comes over to me and goes, Meanie, you look worried. I was like, well, yeah, this is what's going on. And he goes, wait 1 minute. He walks away, comes back, goes, come with me. And he takes me into Vince's office.
Oh wow.
And I walk in and Vince is having a steak. Meanie. And he's watching like the sizzle reel for Hogan Knows Best, which is like the show hadn't aired yet, but he's watching like dailies or whatever and stuff. Meanie, go sit on the couch. So I go sit in this couch and like this is in Sacramento, July 4th, 2005. Sitting on this couch, and then Johnny Ace, Triple H, Vince come in, and we have a heart-to-heart talk. I was like, hey man, this is what happened. Blah, blah, blah. This is how I feel. I feel kind of like being somebody. He's like, well, I assure you, Meanie, that if John does the same thing again, he will be fired. Like, all right. So,
the hell?
All right. Okay. And do I have a roll of quarters?
Can I have some of that steak, by the way? Vince?
Yeah. Can I get some of that gristle? But I'm standing there, and then John comes in, and I just, you feel the tension, and it's kind of like his cowboy hat was like the dorsal fin in Jaws, dun, 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 dun. And I'm standing there, I'm just bracing because I still don't feel comfortable.
And you haven't. There's no interactions from One Night Stand to this night between you two.
No, other than yelling at each other in gorilla position. That's it.
Okay.
And so eventually, a little bit, he comes up. I feel a tap on my shoulder. He goes, "You want to go talk?" And it's John. I'm like, "All right." So you've been to TVs. There's signs everywhere.
Yes. Arrows.
Seamstress, Vince's office, Richie from Magic, catering, this, that, and the other thing. And as we're walking further and further down the hall, I'm seeing less and less signs. I'm like, man, if we go into a room and there's plastic on the floor, I'm fucking running. I don't want to be like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, when he thinks he's about to be made and takes one in the back of the head.
Oh, Jesus.
So we go in a room. John shuts the door, locks it. I'm like,
he locks it.
Well, I think I don't know. Maybe I'm being dramatic. He goes, we can talk or we can fight. I was like, well, goddamn, John. I don't want to fight you. I never wanted to fight you. I was like, as a matter of fact, I was one of your biggest fans before coming to here in '98 because I legit loved his work.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Stan Hansen and all this stuff. And I said, hey, man, this is what happened. When I was here, I listed everything. Boom, 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 boom. He's like, well, yes, I don't remember that. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, look, let's go out there. And he apologized. Most importantly, apologized. And, let's go out there and make some money. I was like, all right. And, time flies by, and I'm on Twitter, and all of a sudden somebody goes, "Are my eyes deceiving me, or is JBL following the Blue Meanie on Twitter?" And he goes, "I love Meanie." So
and there you go. Well,
yeah, but John, since then, John's apologized.
Yeah.
He almost got me into the Royal Rumble in Philly. I had just done ECW on Release Volume 3 for WWE with Steve Richards and Joey Styles. He's like, what better way to promote the DVD than to have you come out in Philly and say, the host of blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I don't care. Bushwhacker me. I'll walk in, shit came out the other side, and I'll be good.
Yeah.
And he almost got me in. It was down to me and Bubba, and they chose Bubba, which is cool, but he made the effort, and he's done a lot of other cool things for me to help me. So, the sad thing is people, when it comes to something, something like that, it was an ugly incident, and people remember the initial headline. They never read the fine print or the retraction when, people, make amends and stuff like that. So me and him have been like since 2005 been like, no, we're good now.
Right.
So, I was just on his podcast, and people are still going, what about that JBL thing? I just sent him the link.
Well, that's why I wanted you to talk about it again, because my listeners might not know the story, and because I had you, it's interesting to me. One of the things I remember going around when you went back and worked for WWE, people were saying that now this is just speculation, and I don't know if there's any truth to it. One of the rumors going around was that they had you back there so you wouldn't sue them.
Nah, that was never taught. Well, here's the thing. After the one night stand thing happened, I went through like behind the scenes real life shit where I had people coming at me from all sides. I had people going, man, you should really sue.
Mm-hmm.
To the people going, what are you, a pussy? And all I did was just say I was wronged. There's some well-known people saying, yeah, you should probably sue. And then people from other companies reaching out to me saying, you should sue. I'm like, yeah, you want me to sue, don't you? But then, people are like, oh, have you ever worked stiff? And I'm like, blah. It wasn't work. I was like, it wasn't a work. But like, I went through a lot of shit personally from people who thought I was being a baby about something about being wrong, and then the other people who wanted me to sue. But if we're going to be real about it, in hindsight, looking at it through I'll say my age, my 49-year-old eyes.
There's your age.
Yeah, there's my age.
I can block it if you want to bleep it.
He's fine.
So just through my 49-year-old eyes, the whole one night stand thing might have been the best thing that happened to me in a way, because I got released from WWE, and around that time my grandma had passed away. Right. We were at the Hammerstein for one of those double shots. My grandma had passed away, and then I was in a relationship, and that kind of went awry.
We won't talk about any of that.
Right. I don't say the name because she might pop up like Beetlejuice. But just
say 3 times.
No. I was in a bad relationship. That relationship spawned a wrestling company that I actually enjoyed, but didn't enjoy the stress of it. But it ended very badly. So in the course of a couple months, that ended badly. The wrestling promotion ended badly. And then, a couple other things happened with people I don't want to put over. But I was in a really dark spot. I was in a really bad way. And maybe had like $20 to my name. And I was just like looking for, a solution. And then I was relieved, I got invited to the ECW reunion shows. And like during the course of that time, I kind of stopped being the Blue Meanie. I was the Blue Meanie by name, but like I changed my look. I was doing different things and going back to, doing one night stand and actually putting back on the blue hair and the original makeup and the half shirt and the Daisy Dukes and get back out on TV. And, what happened at one night stand was bad, but I kind of found out like who my friends were. I kind of, figured out who my true friends were, and it got me back out there to realize, the fans still care. I had lost all confidence. I had lost all every sense of worth because I was just taking live rounds between grandmom's death, bad relationship, promotion, drama with that, losing friends.
Yeah.
All this shit was happening within that course of the years I call my dark years. And then boom, one night stand happens. It sucks, but somehow it got me back on my footing, and I got back to being me. And they didn't bring me back and that's why I brought up the Nova thing. There was talks about bringing me back because Nova wanted to do the BWO thing, but that just expedited it. Because after the JBL match on SmackDown, we had a little mini feud with the Mexicools and stuff like that. And I got to be on a Grand America Bash and, do stuff, and then Indies, came a calling, and
right.
I got my life back on track because of an incident that was so bad, And
if you think about it too, it's like if you would have sued, God knows how much money you would have got, but it might have tarnished your wrestling career. So if you still want to perform and be a wrestler, you might have been blackballed, by certain people.
Right.
For the ones who think you're a pussy or you couldn't take the beating or whatever, it might have, if like, in my opinion, if you didn't want to be in the business anymore, I would have said, yeah, go ahead and sue. If you were trying to pursue another career, go sue, trying to make a buck or two or whatever. But you still had, something inside you told you not to do it, and you bounced back and you were able to start working again and getting on TV and doing these bigger things. So you made the right decision.
Yeah. And trust me, I had lawyers calling me too.
Yeah.
Who wanted to represent me pro bono. And I was
I heard all these different things, and I was just like, I wonder, I said to myself, he's not going to sue. No. I knew. I said, he's got wrestling in his veins. I said, he's not going to do it because that's going to just slam a door for him. And, even though you think you could get $1 million, you're never going to get that much money anyway. So you might as well just figure it out.
Once the come out, I would probably have like $50.
No, I think you would have got more than $50. JBL has never, like with me, and I've probably had about 10 interactions with him over my whole wrestling career. But I can say in those 10 interactions, he's been such a gentleman and so nice and courteous to me. And you hear all these stories about him, and I know there's always two sides to every story, but I'm just like, man, he's so nice. Like, and then you have like other people like Justin Roberts. I read his book, and it's terrible. People do change, and it's good that you were able to sit down and discuss things with him and kind of smooth everything out. But I tell you what, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was really awful.
I'll never discount anybody else's experiences with John. That's between him and those folks.
Right.
But the John that I eventually became friends with is way different than the John from 98 to 2000.
Okay.
And that was the Wild West, the Attitude Era. And, people get a little crazy on the road and stuff like that. So I could have just been collateral damage and whatever he was going through. And that's none of my business. But, it sucked.
Yeah.
I had good time. Like I had good times in WWE during that Attitude Era too. But there's like that stuff. And
what's your favorite time? What's your favorite time? Favorite moment. We're discussing this crap session. Let's talk about a good moment. What was a favorite moment that you had?
Dude, my favorite moment was WrestleMania 15 in my hometown of
Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
Dude, I was born in Philly. May 8th.
Me too.
May 8th, 1973 at 2 p.m. on a Friday.
Look at that.
Because my mom tells me, and we had Chinese food.
Oh, perfect.
So my mom, every time I do my mom's voice, it's like Edith Bunker. Brian, can you go to McDonald's and get me a black and white shake?
Oh.
Yes, Ma. But I was born in South Philly. debuted for ECW, Philly, debuted for WWE in Philly, had my WrestleMania moment in Philly, and most recently I debuted for AEW in Philly. So
it's crazy.
You get to do things in this town you were born in. I'm unapologetic homer when it comes to Philly. Excuse me, everything Philly. So that had to be the cool thing. I love doing the stuff with Gold Dust.
That was fun.
One of my best matches, my favorite matches, was me and Gold Dust versus the Hardys on Sunday Night Heat. We had a really good match to where, we get to the locker room and like people who I normally wouldn't think would put over that match were like, Jerry Briscoe comes up to me, Meanie, great match, stuff like that. And, just to work with, guys like the Hardys, work with Edge and Christian, when they were just coming up. And I related a lot to Edge, Christian, and the Hardys. We're around the same age, like the same music. We're all listening to like Pearl Jam, and I'm giving them my Pearl Jam mixes on CD when making CDs was a thing back then. But I love being around those guys and relatable and stuff like that. I had met Edge and Christian on I'm still in ECW. Me and Nova did an indie out in Detroit, and Edge and Christian were on that show, and it was like 3 shows. So Nova decides to rib Edge and Christian. He's like, "Hey guys, I picked out your ring music for you." They're like, "We're ready." So
they didn't question it.
Yeah. He's Edge and Christian are getting ready to go to the ring, and all of a sudden girls in cars start playing over the ring. And they both go in the ring, and they both had this really good Rick Martel impersonation. Where they're doing the jumping up and down like Rick does and stuff like that. And then we had to do a run-in on our match, and we run in, and this is around like Christmas time in Detroit, and there's like a Santa Claus at the show. And then me, Edge, Christian, and Nova all turned heel on Santa Claus and beat him up.
This is the second time you've turned heel on Santa Claus, by the way, because the first time we talked about this over the weekend was you and Stevie in Times Square.
Yeah, oh my God.
Which is one of my favorite promos ever, when they super kick Santa Claus.
And that was just a guy on the street. That's the beauty of ECW. We do those run and gun promos. We're filming, and this guy goes, "I want to be on TV." And we're like, "Can you take a Stevie kick?" And he's like, looking at us like, "What?" And we explained it, and Stevie walked, and the one that aired was the second take. We did a take, and we have to do that again. And the guy had to take it. Well,
on concrete.
The Nestea plunge. He took the Nestea plunge on concrete and got up, and we're like, "Okay, thanks, bye," and kept walking. It's like, I don't know if there's a payday, and I was like, it's ECW. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. That's one of my favorites. Next to Premium Wear, which you co-starred with me, and people love that for sure.
Many a man hated me for interrupting that commercial.
Great. It was so great.
Meanie, I hate you.
Funniest ECW story that you can think of off the top of your head.
Oh my God.
One of them.
One of them.
It could be at the Travel Lodge. It doesn't have to be. Travel Lodge is put over a lot on this show, but
that building, I call it the cylinder of sin.
It's true.
It's spherical, and it looks like it needs a condom on it.
Yes, I agree.
But probably one of my favorite moments is I was wrestling Jason Knight around the loop, and we would have Jason was kind enough to put me over. Pin 1, 2, 3, and I was doing the YMCA gimmick that we eventually did on WrestlePalooza in '98. But before that, we're going around a loop with Jason and having this quick little match, pin him 1, 2, 3, YMCA, and we come back through the curtain, and I want to say it was Allentown, or oh my God, that place,
Downingtown.
Downingtown. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Come through the curtain in Downingtown, and there's Shane Douglas, Big Dick Dudley, and the rest of the locker room going, YMCA. And because the music's still playing, I just see Big Dick Dudley doing the YMCA. And then doing that at the ECW arena, you see these guys in like leather biker jackets going, "Oh, YMCA," to get the ECW crowd to do the YMCA with.
Yeah.
That was a fun moment. You know, that was a fun loop in time. You know, as far as stories go that I could tell.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a lot of it's in the vault, and we understand it. How many times have you pooped your pants in the ring?
In my career, 3 times.
3 times.
But once,
I'm at 0, just to let you know.
Rookie.
I know.
Work
on that.
Good work.
It was like January 3rd, 98. Yeah. You know, would you believe okay, let me tell the story first. I know this because me, Nova, and Randy's sound guy drove out to Detroit for this loop of shows, and they picked me up on New Year's Day, which is, you know, the Mummers Parade. So it took them forever to find my house. We drove halfway, so it might have been January 2nd. So we're doing a show in Inkster, Michigan, at a community center.
Is this for WWE?
For ECW.
Oh, it's for ECW. Okay.
Yep. And the cool thing about doing this show is, you know, I started my career out in Ohio and Michigan, so I had wrestled in this building as Brian Rollins, the Zebra Kid, and now I've come back as the Blue Meanie. And all the fans that watched me on the Michigan indie scene are watching me at this show, which is kind of cool. So we're wrestling Jason again on that, you know.
Why not?
2 minutes into the match, he clotheslines me. I take a flat back and I hear, you know, it's kind of like this. And
that's the second time we heard that.
I have a
explosion.
I have a Rodecaster Pro, which has a soundboard on it. So
yeah, we have to get one of those.
Fancy.
We need to.
Breaking news. You know,
the Action News theme. There goes that Action News band again. Okay,
you popped because that's one of my text tones.
I know. I was like, "What the hell? You're so Philly."
Yes, unapologetically. So you know, he clotheslines me and in my pants. I'm like, "Oh no!"
Oh,
but I knew it wasn't messy. It was like more like a tater tot. But it was just like. So we're wrestling, and he, you know, snapmares me over, puts me in a chin lock, and I'm just wafting in it.
Oh.
And Bill Wiles was managing me at the time. He was Boogaloo Bill Wiles. And the smell of this hits ringside.
Oof.
And Bill doesn't know it's me.
Okay.
And so he goes, "Oh, you people." He looks at the crowd and goes, "You people stink." He goes to the other side of the ring. So the smell hits the other side. And he goes, "Oh, anybody in the town bathe?" You know. So we finished the match. I had to miss a moonsault and all this.
Oh man! Could you imagine?
In my days of Duke, I go in the locker room and Sandman stooched me off. A word got back to the locker room what had happened, and Sandman's like, "Yo, Meanie shit his pants." And I don't even go in the locker room. I go right for the showers. I peel off, you know, boom, boom, boom. I got one shower hit me in the head, one shower, you know, from behind, like I'm hosing off like a circus elephant in the
But it's only a little turd, you said.
I didn't know that. I felt it, but you know, better be safe.
Okay.
Either way, Paul walks in and the rest of the locker room, and they're just like golf clap. Yeah. So I clean up and I go and throw my underwear on the roof. You know, instead of being a gentleman and throwing it in the trash. So I was like, let me get rid of the evidence. Threw it on the hook. Did the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook onto the roof.
God.
And I recently just went on Google Earth and looked up the building to see.
Are they there?
Oh, I was waiting to see like if there's a chalk outline around them. Like
maybe a bird took them or something.
Made a nest.
Oh, you just and then the bird got disgusted and he like spit them out.
And the bird went, "Does anybody here bathe?" Oh, this is cute.
Well, I can attest to how bad your gas is because we've traveled together a lot. I've shared a locker room with you for years. The funniest story, I might have said it before, but now that you're here, I have to say it again.
I know what you're going to say.
It wasn't ECW. I think it might have been a loop for Shane Douglas.
Yeah.
That we were on, right?
The Hardcore Homecoming.
Hardcore Homecoming. We were somewhere, and we had gone either to a rest stop or to eat, and we were coming back, getting into our car, And next to our car was another car, and there was a woman sitting in the car.
Well,
and
I did not see.
Yes, well, she was in there, and her window, unfortunately, was down. Meanie stands in front of her window.
Put my ass in the window
and passes gas right in this.
I thought it was one of those things. I thought like so I like to rib, right? You know, when I worked in the casinos, you know, in Atlantic City, you know, I was doing garage duty. If somebody had their window down, I'd reach in and turn the volume knob up on the radio, just, you know. But I was like, oh, look, a window's down. And I didn't see the lady.
He farted. It was loud and just crude. And I went, what?
Yeah, I turn around and went, oh, ain't my face red.
Her face.
Line.
Her face. She looked like she was going to vomit. Her face just turned milk white. And she was like, oh, she gasped. I was like, what? I get in the car. I go, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I didn't know she was there. I said, you did. You had to. Oh
my God. There was one time ECW was running in Dayton for Heat Wave. I have a friend, Jeremiah, and I stayed at his house. He lives right over in Kentucky. And we go to, I want to say King's Dominion. And there's a Top Gun ride. And I had the worst gas that day. And we're on stairs going up this ride, and we're just waiting our turn. And I just went, hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
And there's a family behind me. I forget people are behind me. And I didn't even look. But my friend Jeremiah, the look on his face, watching them, he had tears coming down his eyes like he was eating hot wings.
It would have been great if, you know how they take pictures on the rides? If you would have farted and the flash would have went off and the people are behind you, like disgusting.
Yeah. the moment of impact. You know, just I stopped a concert with a fart once. I swear to God.
How did you do that?
Remember when I was skinny mini for a second? Remember when I was skinny mini for a second there?
Yeah, for a hot minute. Yes.
I got down to like 240. I was
my God, I can't breathe. Okay.
Neither could they. I was doing the protein thing, and we went to see a band called the Atomic Punks at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. Now, the singer and the guitar player from the Atomic Punks went on to become Steel Panther.
Okay.
Michael and Satchel, whatever his name is now. They keep changing their names. And I was just on a tear. And I was losing weight. But we're at the show, and there's a group of women behind me dancing, and they keep bumping into me. I'm like watching the band, and I'm like, you know, it's like I'm being slowly rear-ended, you know. So I was like, oh man. And then like they're grabbing on I'm wearing a BWO shirt, like tank top, you know, a muscle shirt without the muscles. Okay. And
it's good luck.
Yeah, they're grabbing the back of my shirt and like reading it, and I'm just like,
ew, get off
so
me.
I just nuzzled my butt cheeks on the one lady's thigh and just let it fucking rip. I was just like, it was warm too. It was like,
oh God.
You could have opened mail with it. It would have melted the glue. And then all of a sudden they were like behind me dancing. They were dancing like this. I turn around, they're like, you know, dancing like this, you know, with their shirts over their face.
They didn't stop dancing. They didn't put you over except for this.
Oh no. But like the main band hadn't come on yet. So I'm just like, I let that one go, and it's kind of like inviting vampires into your house. It brings friends. So I was like, oh no, there's more. So like every couple minutes, I'm like,
playing a trumpet with his asshole.
You got your own band.
Dizzy Gillespie, with the cheeks puffed out, and eventually somebody at the bar, at the back of the fucking Whiskey Go-Go goes, please stop farting. like you're good 100 yards away.
You, sir.
Stop farting. Dude, it was nuclear.
Oh my God, I can't.
So the band we go to see comes on, and like I'm clenched. I'm trying not to, because I really want to enjoy this band. Yeah, I'm a Van Halen mark. So I was making this part up. They're playing the song "You Really Got Me," and this Ralph Michael Starr, aka Michael Starr, is walking towards me, and I'm like, oh no. So we'll let one go, and it's like he's walking this way, and my fart's going up this way, and it's just like they two ships meeting in the night, and he just went, oh.
On the microphone.
I wish there was a bootleg of it. He goes, oh, stop.
I love it.
He's waving his arm. He goes, whoa. And the band stops playing. And he goes, oh, somebody in the crowd just shit their pants. And every hand in the bar pointed to me. And I was just like,
I can't.
I was with who's the guy who did the photos for ECW.com? Quigley.
Jim.
Yeah. I messaged his brother thinking it was him. I was like, remember that time I stopped the band? He's like, no, that's my brother Jim. And here's what he said.
My makeup's all over my face right now. I'm crying.
Jim Quigley just testified on my behalf that I stopped the concert with a fart. I'll send you
that's great
photographic proof, but yeah,
I can't breathe. Oh my god, it's really funny. Well, I can attest because I've smelt it several times. Potent.
Yeah,
that's the only word I could use. Potent. Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video. Or click over here to listen to my podcast. And as always,